Yeah, man, I agree with what Santiago was saying. I mean, it's tough, very tough, like living and growing up with like those experiences, like you said, especially with like family members who have dealt with like racism or segregation of any race. You know what I mean? And I know that we look at America as a place that has racism, but it's kind of all over the place. Especially like what Santiago was just saying, like he's things he heard from other people that he knows. So I think that that's navigating different spaces in life. Arick, for something you told me not too long ago about was that you got a new girl, bro. Like, hey,
My man's been
Yeah.
holding out on us. He's like, so I'm not gonna say
Hey, move in
anything.
silence, man. You got to move in
Yeah,
silence
that's the
sometimes.
best way to be, bruh.
hey. So how is it? I mean, I know that that's in Spain now. So how is it? I mean, Santiago be speaking Spanish on here, but I mean, I'm sure your girl
Yeah.
speaks a lot more Spanish than us. uh,
Yeah.
so how is that dating like in a different country?
I don't know. It's all a new experience for me too. Like I've been overseas since 2016, but I've never actually like been in a full on relationship with somebody. Usually, just kind of like Tinder or whatever. You just kind of meet, hang out for a bit, and then you go about your ways
Right.
and whatnot. But to actually like date somebody, it's a new experience, and I'm enjoying it. I think the dating pool across the world is completely different. I've experienced so many different types of personalities and cultures, and I think it's only helped me understand more about myself and about the women I choose to date. But dating a Spanish girl, like it's definitely different than dating a Latina because like I've dated a lot of Latinas in my day.
What's the biggest difference, bro? I need to know. Hey, man, I've dated a lot too. So
Yeah.
a lot of Latinas as well as Javon kid. He knows. He knows
Yeah.
my track record with that. So please, so what's the biggest difference for you?
I mean, I hate to generalize any group of people or
Of course.
whatnot, but like I mean, yes, there are the stereotypes with the Latina temper and whatnot. I mean, it's kind of real to an extent. Sometimes it's over exaggerated, but I don't get as much of that. She's a lot more open-minded. Like my girl, she's a lot more willing to talk to me about things and work things out if we ever have issues. But I mean, we're still kind of like a new relationship, so we don't really have a whole lot of issues. We've had a few small, not any kind of significant argument kind of deals, but
And you
um,
look, you don't got to tread
it's
too
just,
lightly, but I do know you said your girl want to listen to this, so I get why you tread lightly, bro.
no, no,
Yeah,
we're very open with each other, and like
I like that.
we very much so like encourage each other to like tell each other things because if everything's out on the table, we can talk about it. And if she doesn't like something, she has no problem telling me. But she does it, and I think it's not even like a cultural thing. It's just a person to person thing. We just have so much respect for each other as people, and we're not just like objects to each other. Not that any other culture people are, but we recognize who we are as people and respect each other as people first, and then our relationship is kind of right behind that. So having that mutual respect, I think, is key in any relationship, whether you date anybody of any background or any race or whatever the case is. um, just having that mutual respect and just being able to talk to each other. Just communication, they say, is key, but it really is. Even when it's especially key for us since neither one of us speak each other's first language. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
she speaks English and I speak a little Spanish, but like those deep conversations and arguments and things, like you kind of
It could
have to
be,
just, yeah, it's a little difficult.
yeah, and it sometimes things get lost in translation too, because maybe you choose a word that might mean something different in the context and she sees it, or vice versa, she chooses a word. So you have to, you can't really react to every word because you have to try to ask more questions. I don't know if you've experienced it, but I have, where it's like, well, let me make
That's
sure this is exactly what she was trying to say. So I need to know if I need to check her, or if or there's a misunderstanding on my end. And sometimes it's one or the other. Sometimes it's just a misunderstanding because they chose a word that they thought works, but it really doesn't in that context. And I've done that too when speaking well, in my previous relationships in Spanish. I've chosen the wrong word, and she's like, "Yo, like don't say that here, and here's why." So I think that's great. You know, just having that comfortability with each other to, you know, have those conversation, comprehend, and like try to work that out. Because I'm guessing your first language is English, and then hers it would be Spanish and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's correct.
Question for you with that: they use a lot of like vosotros and stuff. Was it hard? Did you know any Spanish prior to coming to Spain?
I did. I took Spanish in high school, so we did like Spanish. I did Spanish like 1, 2, and 3, which I
Oh,
mean it
okay.
wasn't a whole lot, but like it gets like that base. Like here's the verbs, here's how to conjugate, and like at least that base knowledge. And
Yeah,
then since then, I mean, between dating Latinas in the history, like they all knew Spanish, so I picked up a few small phrases there.
yeah,
And then obviously, like being here, with meeting with like all of her friends and stuff. Obviously, they all speak Spanish, so like I've been like on Babbel and Omeo, Duolingo, and just trying to like get that extra repetition down. So
yeah. I've been using Babbel a lot. Babbel works extremely well. If you guys are trying to pick up a foreign language, Duolingo is good too. Babbel for me, it's great. You know, just of how the process and how the study materials and how it all falls out and everything. So I like. So it's COVID, you know, it's COVID time and everything like that. How have you guys been kind of navigating the dating scene in a new relationship?
it was kind of awkward when we had to meet first because you know, like you said, COVID. Like so we met up at a restaurant and had lunch. Um, and like we got to take off our mask there, but from there it's kind of hard to like, because you know, like on that first date, like you kind of want to be close to each other, but like with COVID, like that's really tough, you
Right.
know. Like I know I'm healthy, and you know I'm a young healthy dude. I've been tested multiple times for COVID, so like I know I'm clean and safe. Not to say that she wasn't, but like you just don't know because you know you're meeting this person for the first time, so
Yeah.
it's just one of those things. It is a weird time to be dating, honestly. Like if dating wasn't already hard, like COVID really doubled down on that.
It really did. Like you got to get super creative.
Yeah.
Even if you trapped in a house with somebody you've been dating for months, you're like, oh, ooh, I need a break from this person, or like we got to set up some type of virtual date, or not virtual date, but like date there, like just do different
Yeah.
things. So
Yeah.
you know, that's interesting.
So how would you
But
say
yeah,
that?
and it was just one of those like instant click kind of things, and you know, we
Oh,
just kind of
okay.
hit it off. And so like it wasn't too much of a struggle after that. And then we just naturally both kind of, it's weird though too, because like you know, like sometimes like you go on like that second or third date, you kind of like lean in for the kiss. Like you can't do that when you're wearing a mask. Like it doesn't work.
Right.
So it was kind of weird. I was like, hey, like, are you cool if we take off our mask? And then I kind of like went, you know, about it that way. You know,
Okay, a little
so
smooth, made it comfortable. Like, hey,
yeah,
good if we take off the mask real quick, you know, like,
Why is
okay,
it?
yeah.
Why is it?
So everyone really
yeah,
go about it,
smooth.
yeah, and just whatever happens after that, you know, happens.
How would you navigate? You know, I know that like with COVID and you're there, but how was those tough conversations? I know we talked about respect, and that's something me and Santiago have said, you know, in episodes before. But how would you say navigating the space of communicating that you're, you know, there because of she knows that you're there because of your job, but how long you want to be there? How, you know what I mean, like the future and stuff like that. How does that work when you're dating, in your experience, dating someone from overseas?
Um, I don't know. I guess in the past, like that's kind of like always been my excuse to like not commit to anybody like too seriously.
That's fair.
And I was really younger than two. Well, I say really young, but I mean, that was only like 4 years ago. But still, when you're 22, 23, like you're not really thinking about marriage. At least I wasn't thinking about marriage. And I was like, I wouldn't mind being with somebody, but at the same time, I was just enjoying myself, going out, hanging out with friends, doing my own thing. So I'm just kind of one of those people. Like if it happens, it happens. I'm not really looking for anything or anyone. So I wasn't ever too worried about it. I never got too caught up into it. And then once I did kind of start, you know, meeting more girls and dating and doing the Tinder thing and whatnot, um, there's a lot of the Spanish girls here, they don't really know because we work on a Spanish base. So it's not an Air Force base, it's a Spanish base.
Got
So
it.
our
Okay.
presence is very small. Like our footprint here is very small, which is kind of good. I like that.
Yeah.
And so like she didn't really know until like probably a few like days into us actually talking, like what I did or like that I was actually military. Because like I wasn't like lying or hiding or anything, but like when you first meet a foreign person, like you don't want to be, oh, I'm military, you know, like it's just kind of like protecting yourself and
I
your job.
completely understand that, bro. 100%.
Yeah.
I get it completely.
Yeah. So like I wasn't trying to like hide who I was or anything. I just gave you like my like job title, like as it was, just kind of being like a supervisor and managing people and whatnot. And then once I started to realize, I was like, okay, I could tell her more. I was like, okay, so I actually do it for the military and da 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 da. As far as it affecting the relationship, we've already kind of hit on that, me and her, like how I'm gonna stay here and what's gonna happen if I leave. Um, so I guess it just depends on the girls. Some girls they don't care. They're like, oh, well, this wasn't a real serious thing for me anyway. And other girls are like, oh, I was really hoping to get to know you more. So it's like the states in that aspect. Like it just depends on what the other person's looking for at that time too. And then, I mean, depending on what I'm looking for. So
Yeah, because it definitely takes it takes two people. One of my closest guys has a long distance relationship, and his lady's in Switzerland, and he's in America. So
okay.
that's like an 8 hour time.
Yeah.
That's a whole work day that they're separated. But yo, but they make it work. So you're absolutely correct. It depends on both people, and I think you hit that right on the nail, right on the head. It depends on both people. What they're looking for, what they want, and being confident in what they want. Because I do even see, not even just with long distance relationship, but the dating culture here. And you can speak a little bit if it's different in the areas that you lived in different countries, where there's a lot of people who make decisions based on their group of friends or what other people think. I mean, we're all influenced, myself included, by things to a certain degree, all of us. But some of us we're more confident in our own decision making to be able to make a decision, even if everybody who we know, love, and care for us is telling us to go opposite of that. Have you seen a differences within the culture in any of the places you lived, or this is still something new for you, so you haven't really seen it yet?
I mean, I definitely understand what you mean. I guess, yeah, it's still pretty new for me. But I think her and I both got off on the same foot on that one. Again, like we're so different, me and my girlfriend, and so similar in a lot of ways in
Yeah,
that aspect because we both kind of march to the beat of our own drum. We're our own kind of individualist kind of people. So we don't, like you said, everybody's influenced in some kind of way. But I think both, I can speak safely for both of us that we do just what makes us happy. And like I was saying before, I just kind of love to go experience life. And if I have a girlfriend, then I have a girlfriend. If I don't, I don't. Like I'm still going to go experience life and do my thing. And she's kind of the same way. So we're always just kind of looking for fun activities that we can do, with COVID restraints and all that right now. Spain's probably like one of the worst places to try and travel in. But
yeah,
like that's kind of
yeah.
where we're at least on that aspect of our influences and
It is great having you because Javon, and I'll let him kind of lead this, and I've been saying this for the last couple episodes now, that if we've got some heavy feedback, both good and constructive, and one of the things was because about people being their own individuals within a relationship. We have always been people who advocated for that, so you don't develop a codependency
yeah.
on the other person. And I'm gonna let Javon speak about that a little bit because it sounds like that's exactly what you and your girlfriend do.
Yeah, I feel like, boy, we had a lot of like back and forth with people. I would say that even the episodes, we've had like one or two episodes where we have people on. See, I'm kind of like tiptoeing around it. No, I'm just kidding. But on a serious note, I think a lot of times people have felt that a person shouldn't be an individual apart. I know for you, and I know you personally, you have explained to me like for a long time, like you have to be by yourself for a while. You went through a couple after a rough relationship. You went through almost 2 years, no relationship, no girls, no nothing, kind of just focus on yourself. But how do you feel like that has prepared you for the relationship you're in now? And do you feel like it would have been okay for you to build with someone else when you weren't right yourself? Because I know you wasn't fully right, even like financially, mentally, different things like that.
Well, for me, I guess like the break is just the first half of it is just like you getting, or well, me, I guess, getting over any of those obstacles and just like even though I ended things with my ex, you still have those things kind of like work through, like why this didn't work and what the issues were. So like that first obstacle, and then the second one is just kind of for me, it was like accepting, like okay, well I'm not perfect either. Like I played a part in this too. It takes two in a relationship, obviously, to make it work. So by no means I wasn't perfect either, but I tried my best and I think she tried hers, but whether or not that's the case, you got to move on past that. But just building yourself back up and getting to a point to where you could even be with somebody, I feel like it's important because if you're not in the right mindset, then how are you going to be able to make somebody else's day better or whatever the case is, for lack of better terms. Um, I don't know. It was a rough year, but I just got really focused into my work. I had a very busy job, so there was a lot of learning I had to do at work. So focusing on myself when I was in my off time, I think was key just for my own personal life because you always got to have that work and play balance,
Yeah.
and just being able to like focus on myself because sometimes in a relationship you don't get to focus on yourself. Like if your girl is having a bad day, like guess what, you're having a bad day. you know
Pretty much.
so I mean, it's a give and take for sure, but being in that right mindset and making sure that you're happy on your own, I think is key before you try and get with somebody else,
How do
because
you think?
I think it is damaging.
I agree. And how do you think when you talk about? I know earlier, which I meant to touch back on it, like communication
Mhm.
is key between two people because I know you said that you communicated with your particular girl right now, like how, like where you all are both at in life and space. So do you feel like as people, I know in previous episodes and in some of the people we got some feedback, some people think that you don't necessarily, you can just grow with someone else instead of growing yourself and then communicating and connecting and being together. So do you feel like communication is, how do you communicate tough things when you're not right mentally yourself, or you have in your situation, not to ramble on, you're you may only be there for a temporary time and you have to communicate this tough thing. um, how do you do that with someone?
I mean, in like my particular situation now, I think I've explained it to her well enough, and she understands. My time here is limited, but depending on how things go, like I told her, I'm not going to make my decision based off of her because it is still my future and it's still my life that I need to look out for.
Yeah.
It's nothing personal. Like, yes, I understand she is a part of my life and she is important to me, but she also understands that too. So making that first level of connection and understanding, like, hey, don't take it personally, but I have to secure my future before I worry about where this relationship, because we are new. For anybody that doesn't know, I mean, I've only been dating her since like just before Christmas. So like it's, barely 2 months. So I think that's the first step. And then once you get past that, um, just continuing to understand that if you are going to grow separately, like what your relationship plan is, if you want to continue to grow separately, and if you want to grow together, then like you have to obviously be on the right plane to do that. You got to discuss things like, are you willing to do the long distance? Are you going to put in that work to do the long distance? Do you trust each other enough to do long distance? And I think it just depends on the maturity level of the relationship. Because if the relationship isn't that mature, then I don't think it's going to last with anybody. Trying to do two separate things. But if you're on that same page, and if you understand and she understands or he understands that you want to go do this and they want to go do that with their life, then that's fine. Because that's kind of where we're both at. We both have careers we want to pursue. We're still in
Yeah.
our 20s. So like obviously we both want to pursue our careers. Mine's not going to be military, but still I have, dreams and aspirations beyond military because military is not forever. And she wants to continue to go to school and continue her studies. So we're kind of like in two different paths, but we're on the same plane because we both understand each other. So for us, it's just communicating and understanding again.
That's deep, man. I'll let Santiago tag anything else, but man, I think that was really deep when you said that you had a deep conversation to let her know, like, hey, I still got to focus on my future. And I feel like a lot of times we do get stuck, people get stuck, men or females get stuck in relationships and they haven't even secured their future or even communicated, like, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what I want. Like, I want to be successful in this part of my life. And you can be here, but you're not going to be the primary focus.
Right.
Yeah, you'll be, exactly. And for me, that's just a philosophy, obviously not how I thought earlier in my earlier 20s, but that's what I am now. Like, you are two separate people who are on your own individual path, who, if you decide to get together, are taking, y'all going in the same direction, just on your own path. So I think a lot of people intermingle and get too much, because I've done this in previous relationship, not in my last one, but my previous ones, where I put too much focus on the person to where, not where you completely where I lost myself, but where you're just not focusing on your own goals and aspirations. So that way, if y'all break up, and I'm sure this is true for many other people, you're wondering, you're kind of stuck like, well, where do I go now? Or I should have been focused on this, on that. So I think that's great that you guys are having those type of conversations early, and there's a maturity factor. From personal experience, there's definitely a maturity factor that has to be there when it comes to relationships like this, or even long distance relationship. There has to be a factor there on both sides where people are really willing to have those difficult conversations, or have those concerns, or over communicate. That's one thing I've learned in my previous relationships. With being long distance, you kind of have to over communicate. You may not want to, but it kind of has to happen, and I understand why. So I definitely like y'all the way y'all little setup, even though it don't matter if I like it. I'm just kudos.
No, I feel you, man. I feel you. No, yeah, that's the biggest thing. Me and her discussed it. I think partly because of like it's not where we're like on a clock or anything, but it's just knowing that I'm military, knowing that I can leave on a moment's notice. I think it's just a conversation that needs to be had, and both of us, even though it's an early on relationship or a new relationship between me and her, I think we both understand that what we want out of life and what we want out of a relationship, we're on the same kind of page. Like, we're both in our later 20s. We both have dated enough to know what we do and don't like, and we both know what we want out of a relationship. And I think that was our key factor where we really aligned. And then our goals, we both want to travel. So we've kind of discussed like, hey, what if we just kind of take a break from not necessarily our careers, but just take a break and just travel together, see the world together. And then after like 2-3 years, we can come back to it, because school will always be there. Jobs will always be there.
I like that mindset.
We've navigated a few ideas here and there. So
yeah, because I ended with this, because most people, they live life in their 50s. They work all the way through 20s and 30s and 40s. Not necessarily that's an issue, but they do that, and then they live their life in their 50s and 60s. I'm trying to do differently. I know Javon is, and even it seems like you two, where I'm trying to travel and enjoy life now. And while I'm still working, stuff is still always going to be there. Like you said, that's always going to be there. But my ability and stuff to travel, or do the things, some of the things that I enjoy now, my desire might not be there in 20 years. Or I might feel like I missed out, or I might even not even care anymore and about having that type of experience, because I might have other things going on. So before I get to that point in life, I do want to do more traveling. So I think that's dope that y'all kind of want to do the same.
Yeah, because I feel like there's just a lot of things you don't get to do Like if I'm 60, like going skydiving is gonna be really hard, or going snorkeling, it's not gonna be as fun, or jumping off of bridges and skiing, like that stuff gets harder. So, those are so many things I've already done. Like I mean, I'm not gonna do that when I'm 60.
Right. It's just because you got more to lose. You're like, man, because I just went skydiving last month, and I'm like, I was a little nervous, but once I jumped, I was fine. But I'm thinking if I'm 60, I'm not doing that at 60.
Definitely.
Right.
I think for me in closing, I think that this has been a great episode. And I think really diving deep into some of the things you said, and just touching on a lot of things, is that communicate, people. That's all this episode. He's been talking, Arick been sharing, Santiago been sharing. I've been like, communicate. Even it doesn't always just have to be communicating with like your significant other, but communicating, period. Communicating like with yourself, like what you want, what you need. Traveling, exploring life, and enjoying the world. You can't grow if you don't separate yourself from your current environment or environments you used to. So I think those are some of the big things. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sacrifice who I am now for nothing. Like, you have to be able to be willing to like change who you are to be able to enjoy life. So make the sacrifices so you can enjoy life. Sometimes it's maybe taking a little bit of time off and missing some money to kind of get yourself mentally back right. Because I mean, most people nowadays are taking later, like I don't have any kids and I'm like 27. Santiago don't have any kids. Arick don't. They in their 20s as well. So if you're in your 20s and those type of ages, enjoy life. You only have yourself to worry about right now.
Yeah. Y'all say that now, and then watch in 2 years, I'm gonna be a father.
You should be 31 at that point.
Yeah, but it'd be cool. But we'll see. I don't know, man. Right now, I'm focusing on me. But no, Arick, it was great having you, man. We definitely gonna have you back on for another episodes. When COVID kind of gets some type of uncontrol, there and here, we definitely have to talk about like linking up or something over there, especially in Spain. That'll be a dope experience, I'm thinking.
Oh, for sure. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, like I've already been talking with Lamont about you guys coming over. I got space, and I'm willing to show you guys around. It's a good time.
Hey, I'm with it.
All right.
Yeah, just let me know, guys.
All right.
Yeah, bro. We'll talk.
We'll